Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. Hi there, I'm John Meisner, producer of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report right here on GCTV. You don't usually see me on camera, of course, but this week we've decided to take a look back at some of our favorite interviews and favorite moments in our Best of 2019 edition of Varsity Sports Report. This week, we'll take a look back at some of our favorite moments, and you'll get to hear from some of our favorite players, coaches, and student athletes from among Franklin County. And I can honestly say that personally, taking the time to look through some of our past footage from this year, I can honestly say what a joy it's been producing this show and taking a look back at some of our favorite athletes and really favorite people that make me serve Franklin County very well. The next thing we'd like to show you is a little family segment we had on this show back in June with two of Bobby's nephews, Hunter and Ryan Campbell. They talked about their past high school athletic careers and their futures in college. Take a look.
How's it feel to finally wrap up your high school career? Bittersweet? Where we at, Hunter?
It's exciting. I'm already making memories of this summer, trying to enjoy the last bit of Greenfield I can. It's definitely something different. As a little kid, you dream about graduating and finally being done, but now that it's here, it's kind of shocking, like what's next type of deal. But
it's always tough, and Ryan, you are one of those kids who's pretty passive, laid back kind of guys, and I say to myself, what's this guy going to do this summer? So what's your game plan now that you've wind things down a little bit?
It's pretty much the same old thing. It doesn't feel like much has changed since high school's ended. It's only been like a couple weeks now. I just plan on chilling with my friends for the rest of the summer, making the best of it, and heading off to GCC.
Yep. So you're going to GCC, and you're going to Colby Sawyer. You got your shirt on there.
Yeah.
And, I think it's great because both of you guys we talked about this on my Bobby's World column about different paths that kids take when they graduate high school,
Yeah.
Back in my day, it was a little different, though, because back then, a lot of blue-collar workers back in the 80s, and a lot of people had a game plan, and a lot of them went into factories and things like that. But I decided, as you guys know, to get into the radio business, and I was able to get some experience to do that. A little bit different now. We're in a big technical world now.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You guys are in a situation now where things are a lot different. And I think the opportunities are slim compared to when it was
Definitely.
in the 80s, guys.
Definitely.
So you have to have a goal of some kind of path that you want to take that's hopefully going to get you to be able to at least land a decent job,
Yeah.
And in your case, you decided that you wanted to get into some sports management type stuff so that you can be able to learn some experience in that field. Well, with all the experience you got in sports and the contacts you've been able to get, this is a good opportunity for you, Hunter.
Definitely. It's something sports has taught me so much over the years, the highs and lows of life. I feel like sports has always been the answer for me no matter what. And, I helped Jackson with his Cal Ripken team, and just to see the way the young kids really look up to an older person around a simple game of baseball, it just really inspired me to pursue that in the future. So.
When you look at Ryan, the same thing for you is, you've been around the sports field, and everything you've done has been sports pretty much as your whole life as well, like him. And, you have a different path. It's funny because I look at both of you guys, and you guys are really different in a lot of ways, but you guys are still a lot alike in a lot of ways, too. Sure. And what I mean by that is like Ryan, dedicated to a soccer field and, really put a lot into that. In 1 year, you decided to take what they call a different tour, as they say, and decided to play a year of football. And I just want to say, Hunter, he really did good, man.
He was good. I mean, I used to try to go to all his games even when I had games. I remember there was one time we had a 6 o'clock game, and I didn't even stay after. I changed and I zooted over to Turner's to watch this kid play. And I think he might have scored your first touchdown of the season.
I'm not sure what game was that.
I think he was at Pioneer or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I just it's incredible to see this kid just pick up you could pick up any ball and be good at that sport. You know, it's insane.
And that's the thing. And both you guys are like that, though. You know, both you guys can be able to adapt. You know, you in middle school gave soccer a shot. And you thought it was pretty fun, you know, and then you got into football and you continued to do that. Yeah. But this guy, you know, he's definitely been a soccer player ever since we saw him as a little guy, you know, and he just knew how to run up and down the court. He's great with footwork and you know, I look at what you guys have been able to do, and it just amazes me on how well you guys have been able to just excel at everything you guys do. And I want people to know that Ryan and Hunter are also honor students too. These guys don't just, you know, do well on a sports field. They really take the classroom pretty serious too. You know, Ryan, let's talk about a little bit about what it's like to be able to get through a day on a soccer field, something that, you know, Uncle Bob would never have done. So what is it like for you when you get ready and prep for a game? Just so people get an idea.
You really gotta like prep yourself and make sure you're not exerting all your energy on like one play. You need to be able to run up and down that field, I don't even know, like 20, 30 times a game, maybe a half. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And you got to keep yourself hydrated too, don't you, throughout the game? Because I imagine it must take a lot out if you don't.
If it's like the games right in the beginning of the season, or like beginning of September, are usually pretty crucial or gruesome because the heat and the humidity at that time of year is it's not fun.
No, it's not. And then you got to make sure you make the adjustments when it gets really cold if you're playing on a day in late October, right? I mean, it's sort of the same thing. I mean, it can
for sure.
really,
have your hat on.
Yes, it can be really chilly. And what's it like when you got a cold day and you're heading balls and stuff? Does that not bother you at all or anything?
Oh no, I had a couple headers this season. Yeah, goals, probably like 4 of them were headers. Yeah. I do it no matter what.
You love the headers. All right. He loves the headers, man. Hey, you know, when you were able to play soccer, I remember back in middle school, you were a goalie, if I remember correctly,
sophomore year, too, I got to play.
In sophomore year, yeah.
But it's fun. It's a fun time. It's a great sport. I mean, I was a goalie, so I didn't have to do all the running. You know, it probably saved me a bit. You know.
Yep.
But I just remember, as it got colder, you can definitely tell. I mean, kicking the ball didn't go as far. Everything was harder, and so a lot of props to him for using his whole body all season. That's tough.
He really is good at it. He really is. You know, Hunter, you know, you got good hands, good receiver. You're also tall, and you know, a good target. And I think that when you were playing football for Greenfield High School, the one thing that I will say is you had a quarterback who, personally, I think could have done a lot more because of the weapons that he had with you and Nooney. And, you know, there could have been a lot more balls that could have been thrown. But it was tough because you also had a running back who was running for over 1,000 yards. And how about 2,000 yards last year?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it like when you know that this guy's going to get the ball pretty much almost 90% of the time when you're on the football field on the offensive end?
Well, I feel like there's 2 different ways kids nowadays could take it. Kids could either get mad or kids can buy in. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, there was definitely games where I felt like me and the receiving, like my teammates thought we should have got the ball more. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust your teammates and trust your coach. And I think once we all bought in and, you know, you started to see some downfield blocks for RJ, and it made the game a lot more exciting, you know. So it's just a matter of, you know, just being a good teammate, buying in, and just really adapting to the offensive scheme we had going on. And, I mean, RJ ended up getting 2,000 yards, and that's just a testament to not only him, but the rest of the team as well.
That's my point right there. It's a testament to your team. And you have to look at Turner's, too. When you're able to have Wyatt Keith do the same thing, it's a testament to both teams to be able to do a good job at what they do.
That kid's phenomenal. I mean, I remember tackling him on Turkey Day, and I think it hurt me more than it hurt him. And he's a workhorse, and, you know, big props to him for reaching 2,000. That's amazing.
And you know, it's funny because the kid is not even playing any sports. You know, he's literally going to just move on to become a therapist, and it's not about that with him. He just has a goal of what he wants to do in college, but he's not going to play football. Kid's 2,000-yard scorer and is not even going to play football. He just has other things that he's looking forward to doing in his life, and I'm so good with whatever he wants to do because he's such a great kid.
He is a great kid, and he works hard. I know he'll be successful whenever he chooses, for sure.
Exactly. You know, I look back and I see that, you know, when you 2 guys and I had a chance to spend some time together in Little League, and we had a chance to win a championship, we had a chance to really do some cool things as a family, you know, with your dad and me, and it was our Campbell crew, and winning a championship and having some fun. I look back at the athletes we had: Garrett Cody, great athlete out of Pioneer; Xavier Santiago, really good, athlete out of Frontier. And you guys, I mean, we had some really, really good kids. And, I look back now and I just can't believe you guys are all grown up, man. X-Man, 6'5", huge, big boy now, solid, still throws hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I look at Ryan throwing people out from left field at home plate on a big diamond. I mean, making catches, diving catches, rolling over, robbing home runs. This guy's crazy. Hunter, the stretches you make at first base, and the ball is usually always in your glove. And the way you've been hitting, I mean, damn, you guys are good, man. And we don't have to say anything more about Garrett Cody, man.
Oh,
that
phenomenal.
Kid is just,
I love that kid.
The kid's got a lot of energy, and he's just something else, too. Yeah. So we look at where we all got started as where you guys were young kids, and we were all with you. And we all went together with this ride, all of us.
Definitely.
And today, we get to sit here on Uncle Bob's show and be able to talk about where it all began, man. We had that journey that was back in GMLB, and you guys went your own little way. Ryan went to the soccer field. You did some football. Then, of course, it was basketball, and then Ryan decided to come back. Ryan, by the way, great basketball season this year, man. Great D, great defense, man. Tenacious D. And this guy is so fast,
Yeah, I had to guard him. It was tough.
He's so fast,
tough.
And then you got guys like Hunter who just sort of take control, like, listen, if you need a guy who can take control, this guy could take control for you, It's weird because he's a big guy. And you think, oh, he can't dribble a ball. This guy can dribble a ball, man. He can dribble a ball pretty good. You look at a guy his height and you're like, oh, he can't dribble. Yeah, you can, man.
Appreciate it.
And I look at the way you guys played baseball this year, 2 All-Stars. I said it again, folks, 2 All-Stars right here in baseball. They both deserved it, too. They both had phenomenal years this year in baseball. And I got to be honest, I was sad when it ended because I had a chance to really enjoy both of you. And it was a lot of fun, especially near the end of the year. I know that Ryan, on one hand, is probably saying it was a little bit rough at the end of the year. They really took a tough skid. But in your case, you guys went on like a 9-10 game winning streak. 9
games, yeah.
And, but you faced a very good Southwick team, and I will tell you
they're
something.
Phenomenal. They're phenomenal.
Southwick was a good team. They lost to a good team.
Yeah.
And Philippe and I and John, we were there. We had a chance to be able to be a part of all that. It was really, really tough. So let's talk about that series of the long journey to get into playoffs, knowing that you went in with a winning streak that you knew it was going to either end as a huge winning streak with a championship, or it was going to end with a loss. That's always the hard part about going in with a big winning streak going into playoffs. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it all started after the loss to Hopkins on a walk-off. Actually, the last play of the game, we lost one of our teammates, and he ended up not being able to play the rest of the season in Carlos. And we all kind of gathered around that. It wasn't like we had an easy game after that. We started this streak with Frontier, and I just think the way we all kind of connected and we came back to beat Frontier on a walk-off, that just sparked something. And sports are weird like that. Once something gets going, you never want it to end. And I think we really started to believe in one another and just started to play our best baseball at the right time. We rode pretty high into playoffs. We were a little disappointed that we went 15-5 and got the 4 seed, so we kind of had a chip on our shoulder. Game 1, we came out, I think we won by like 10 or 11 runs versus Mahar, so we were fired up, but we knew what we were getting ourselves into with Southwick. I mean, they're a phenomenal team. I played with half their kids in the Bay State games, so I knew they could play. And just seeing it end like that wasn't what we expected. But that just goes out to Southwick. They're a great team, and when you score early on Green Wave, either we can come back and win it, or it's just going to go the wrong way. And I feel like we just kind of sat back on our heels and didn't give it our best go. But it's sports, and that's how we went out.
Earlier this summer, we had a couple of very interesting ladies on our show, Laura Burt and Amanda Ambrose. They talked about the importance of health, fitness, and exercise for your bodies. And they talked all about the Let's Start a Revolution program. And this is going to be really important advice you'll have to listen to. Take a listen.
Let's talk a little bit about Let's Start a Revolution. Well, this lady right here decided that I need to make some lifestyle changes, and I need to make them fast. I'm under 30. I got to make changes, and I got to make these changes now because my son and I have to make lifestyle changes, or my son's not going to have a mom. This lady said, I'm your best friend. I need to also make some adjustments in my life. Let's make this a group effort. Let's make this that we are going to be the two that are going to work from each other to make this happen. Well, ladies, we sit here today. You've dropped 100 pounds.
100 pounds so far, yep.
You've dropped 150 pounds.
Yes, I have.
I've dropped 270 pounds. We have lost over 500 pounds at this table alone between the three of us.
It's amazing.
And it's emotional as hell to think what we've been able to do to change our lives. And I'm going to get emotional today only because I was given by you ladies this shirt, and you said, I want you to have this, Bobby. The company only goes up to 5XL, but you take this, all right? And I said to you ladies, one of these days I'm getting in this shirt. Well, today I am in the Revolution shirt. I'm in the 5X. And I got wool. And I feel really great to be able to wear the shirt that you guys have been able to inspire many people with. Amanda, what was it like in the beginning when you first got started and you guys had the mission of what you wanted to try to do?
Oh, it was hard at first. When we first got started, we had we're gonna do it, we need to change ourselves, we're gonna help, when we first started, we're gonna change ourselves and just try to help a few friends along the way. And it's grown over time, but it was hard. It's hard to think. We doubted ourselves. Can we do it after so many years of struggling? And a lot of people do that now, is they doubt themselves. Can I do it? Can I stick with it? Can I continue on? It's hard, it's a daily struggle, but it's so worth it in the end. It's so worth the struggle, the fight for it. The health, I feel so much better. I can do more things. I can show my child more things. I can teach her. She's now out hiking with me. My daughter gets out and hikes with me now and does things with me that is incredible. Habits that she's gonna learn for her whole life. It's incredible.
You know, at 600 pounds, I didn't really think I could do it. I really didn't think I could do it. And to have to make the adjustments that I made was really hard. I think the hardest thing is to give up my job at the radio station after all those years to try to take a piece of stress out that was really taking a lot of a toll on my body. To make that decision was probably one of the hardest things I ever did.
Yeah.
And it's emotional in the fact that you guys know how much I love the radio business. And I did it every day for years and years and years. And to have to be able to have the discipline to walk away from that was probably one of the hardest things I ever did, you know?
That's the hard part, is having to walk away with the things that are gonna bring us down and make us fall on our journey. We need things that are gonna uplift us and help us along the journey. So having to give up the things that are hindering us is a hard part of it.
You know, this lady right here next to me, I use her as an inspiration because we both were in a bad spot in our lives. I mean, yes, Amanda, you were heavy, but we were really obese, both of us. I mean, like, morbidly obese.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a lot younger than me. I'm 53 this year. I'll be 53 next month.
I just turned 31.
She's 31 years old, but when she started this journey, she was in her 20s, you know? She had to make the changes. And I look at Johnny now, and I look at the happiness of the family and your daughter, and look at her. She's over there right now just enjoying life. And you guys have given yourselves a whole new attitude, a whole new outlook. Let's talk about you, Laura Burke, and what you've been able to do to change your life.
It's definitely been a lot of changes, that's for sure. We're talking about how we felt in the beginning of the whole thing, and I overwhelmed was definitely the word I would use. I thought about just how is it possible to lose that much weight? You know, I just didn't think it just wasn't even in the realm of possibilities at the time. But I said to myself, all I can do is one day at a time, just try. And very quickly, I made huge changes in the beginning. I was just thinking about it, actually. July 6, 2017 was the last day that we had soda and fast food, and the day we joined the gym. And within the first couple months, I lost a lot of weight pretty quickly because I made those big changes, and then I kind of hit a plateau, and a few months ago I kind of hit another plateau, and it's easy to get a little frustrated with it. But when I realized how far I've come and the changes in me in the last couple of years, it's incredible. And I still have a long way to go. I'm still heavier now than a lot of people are when they start their process. So I hope that people can see me as an example that if I can do it, there's not anybody on the planet who can't do it. So I hope that people realize that as overwhelming as it may seem, it's always possible. You know, there's nobody that's hopeless. As long as you're still alive, there's still hope, and it's possible to do it. And that's my biggest message to people, because I know for me it didn't seem possible, but now I'm 150 pounds less than I was, and like I said, I still have a whole long way to go, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm going to get there. And I'm not overwhelmed anymore, and I'm not hopeless. Like I know for certainty that I'm going to continue living the rest of my life like this, and I'm going to keep getting smaller and keep getting healthier and keep getting faster on my hikes and keep going longer at the gym. And I just know for a fact that the rest of my life is going to keep getting better. And that's a really good feeling, because I didn't feel that way when I started this. So it's emotionally... It's emotionally has been as much of a journey as it has been physically for me, absolutely.
I will tell you this. One of the hardest things that people need to understand is that when you are trying to quit food, it's impossible, folks. You can't quit food. It's the decisions that you make on what you put in your mouth and what's going to benefit your body is where the key is. And people don't realize this, but you can have all the exercise you ever want to put in every day. That's not going to cut it if you don't do the other elements too.
We tell people 80-20.
It's totally 20% only exercise. That's it. I am a proof of that because I have full-blown neuropathy. If you've seen me walk around town, I look like I'm half in the bag because I walk really unbalanced, and it's because of the situation I'm in. But I can't do a lot of that physical exercise like you guys can, to go climb and do Mount Sugarloaf or go up to Shazam Head and be able to get all the group of people that you have and do the things you guys do. I can't do that. So I have to prove to everyone that you can do it with the 80-20 plan, which is exactly what these ladies even said. And that's something that I know all about, especially through what I needed to do through this journey, knowing that I wasn't going to be able to exercise well.
Yeah, we have a lot of group members that come to us and say, I don't get it. I hike and I go to the gym and I'm doing all these things. Why is the scale not moving? And we say, well, how's your nutrition? They say, well, I eat like garbage. We're like, well, that's the problem.
It's
Unfortunately,
really
you can be in the gym always and you can exercise constantly, but if you're not paying attention to the carbs and the calories, and it's balance, it's making sure you have enough protein and having enough carbs. Some people try to go one extreme to another. Like it's difficult, and it's taken us years to kind of finally find what works for us, but it's so important. The nutrition is such a huge aspect of it, and no matter what you do physically, you can't make up for bad nutrition no matter how hard you try.
And you ready for this one, folks? And this is going to probably blow people away, but it is totally true. And I'll tell you, these two ladies will definitely vouch for me on this one. It's all about real, folks. It's not about process. It's real. Real butter. Real. If you're gonna have syrup on a pancake and you want to do one of those type of days, do the real. Get the real deal. Don't be going with Aunt Jemima, because Aunt Jemima is not good for you. High fructose sugars is the worst thing you could ever put into your mouth, and it is totally the poison that is giving you the problems that you're getting.
Yeah, corn syrup and all that. It's horrible.
It's the worst, isn't it?
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
And people don't realize that that is the kind of stuff that's in a lot of the things that we eat.
It's crazy.
It's the reason why
Now
I
that
don't buy regular ketchup anymore, because it's full of corn syrup and sugar. And those are the things that,
I can recommend something to you folks that I tell you is an awesome ketchup that people love, and I'll tell you what it is. It's called Trader Joe's Organic, and it is the most awesome ketchup. And I'm a ketchup guy, and I like that. But I'm going to tell you what people need to realize is that you need balance, and balance consists of the three things. It consists of your body, your mind. Oh yes, you notice I said mind. Your mind.
Mind is a good one.
And your physical activity. And
Absolutely.
if you can be able to take your diet, your mind, and your activity level and be able to balance it all out, you will see results.
It's true. We have a current challenge going on right now. We run challenges for free for the community where we give great prizes away, just motivation challenges. And Right now, our challenge has those 3 components. It has healthy eating recipes we want you to post, physical activity, and self-care.
Which
because
is your mind.
Self-care, your mind, it's a big
Exactly.
part of taking care of yourself and down the journey and getting yourself right.
Absolutely.
It's a big part of it, and that's part of the challenge right now. We included self-care.
It was great hearing from those ladies. Very inspiring. As some of you may know, earlier this year, Turners Falls High School announced that they will not be having a football team for the 2019 season. Back in the fall, we had Jeff Terrell from WHAI Radio speak with Bobby C. about why that happened. Here it is.
Things just feel a little different, Bobby. Things are going to take some getting used to because we all know what's going on with local high school football.
You know, the high school football season has really made a very big impact on a lot of the schools, and the one school that took the biggest hit was Turners Falls High School. Yeah. They had to make a huge decision that I know was very uncomfortable for not only the athletic director, Adam Graves, but also their head coach, Chris LaPointe. And of course, at the end of the day, you say to yourself, what is the biggest problem at Turners Falls High School? Why aren't the kids playing sports? Well, it's one word, Jeff. It's called numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers weren't there. And this is something that it didn't come out of nowhere. We've seen the trend in recent years, and not just at Turners Falls High School, but at a lot of the local schools, the numbers were getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Mohawk, they were living on the edge all season last season. They finished their opening game against Franklin County Tech with 10 players on the field for the last couple minutes of the game. And they were walking that tightrope all season long. They were able to finish the year. Kudos to them. But having said that, though, Bobby, even though this did not come out of left field and no one should have been surprised, the night that I opened up my email and saw the letter from Adam Graves to the community saying that the program at Turners Falls High School, the football program, has been suspended for the 2019 season, it still hit me hard. It hit a lot of people hard, even though no one was surprised by it. You get down to 8 kids, there's nowhere else to go. The good news is that Turners Falls football lives, in essence, with Mohawk, pending MIAA approval. I can't think of a compelling reason why the MIAA wouldn't give this a thumbs up, the new co-op situation, at least for this year with Mohawk. But you have to feel good for the kids from Turners that wanted to play. They're not going to play for their school, but they will play high school football. They've got a new band of brothers in Buckland. They're going to play under the Mohawk banner, and especially for the seniors to have one more shot to play football, because if for some reason this does not get approved, they lose their last season. And usually, you know, I would venture to say 90% of high school athletes, high school football players anyway, their careers end after high school. Some do go on to play collegiately, but not usually. That's it. That's their last chance to play full contact tackle football. And it would be terrible if they were not afforded that opportunity this year.
The way I look at it is that the MIAA would only be a benefit by letting this co-op program happen. First of all, in the fact that you want to give as many kids who want to play sports the opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And you know, the one thing that we have to remember is the West County has taken a huge hit in numbers to the Franklin County Tech School, but so hasn't Turners Falls High School. A lot of kids are playing for the Tech School football program. But one thing that we have to say, Chris, Jeff, that was one thing that Chris Collins and I were talking about was, how about the fact that 30 kids that were playing sports for Turners are not going to be able to play for Turners because they go to other schools. 30 kids. So if you took those 30 athletes, added the 8 to it, you'd be sitting at 38 kids and a Turners Falls suited uniform.
Or even half, and you're sitting at 23, which isn't ideal, but it's doable.
That's right.
8 obviously was not doable.
And 23, funny how you said the number 23. Last night, we had a chance to go up to Mohawk Trail Regional to be able to see their practice. All the Turners kids that were on the team were all there suited up, except for one kid who needs to get a physical. He is a freshman, so he will be suited up. He will be player number 24, because there was 23 suited up last night, which means they'll have one more, which will be 24. But I also heard from Coach McLeod's son. His son said that there might be 3 kids that might be interested in still coming out for Mohawk this week. So if everything goes well with physicals and getting everything done, they could possibly be up to 27 kids suited up for Mohawk this year.
That would be fantastic. I understand when kids decide not to play football, for whatever reason it might be. I get it. I think it's really easy. In the community, you know, especially over at Turner's Falls, people are saying, you know, come on, play. You know, come out. Why would you not want to be a part of that program? It is not for everyone, so I understand that. But if you have an inclination to play football at all, yeah, you need to step up at this time, because if you don't, programs can go under. In the future, so for 2019, we're looking at in 2018, we were looking at the loss of Pioneer, although Pioneer kids had the opportunity to play at Turner's. Wyatt Keith was the most prominent name. We all know what he did last fall.
Yeah, exactly.
So that worked. That had been set up in advance. It worked to the benefit of both schools. The Pioneer kids had a place to play. The Turner's program was enhanced. That was perfect. Will this be perfect? Well, it won't be perfect. It's very late in the game. This is something that, you know, a cynic might say, well, you know, why couldn't this have been in the works over the summer? Because the reason is because I think Turner's Falls legitimately felt like they had a shot to make it in the fall. All indications were, after those meetings in the spring, all indications were, they say, okay, it's going to be tight. We're not going to have a ton of kids, but we will be able to salvage a team in 2019. It turns out that didn't happen. The MIAA might be looking at that. Why are we getting this waiver request in late August? Why, you know, this could have been looked at, dealt with earlier. I feel like I know the reason why. Turner's Falls legitimately felt like they were going to have a program all by themselves this year. The program I was really more worried about was Mohawk. As it turns out, if this doesn't happen, they both would have been in jeopardy. Well, Turner's Falls did discontinue the program, and Mohawk was right on that line. So to me, it's an easy call. It's easy for me to sit at this desk and say that. It's an easy call. Yes,
same here.
Grant the waiver, and let's keep this going. Now, in 2020, in 2025, Bobby, I don't know what we're going to be looking at in terms of local high school football. Greenfield's numbers are pretty good right now. There are a lot of students that are choicing into Greenfield, but are they athletes? The future of football in general. I mean, Bobby, there are football hotbed states where maybe programs aren't going under, but New Jersey's a big football state. Numbers are down huge. Texas.
They were huge.
Florida, California, Ohio, Pennsylvania. These are huge football states. Now, granted, again, I'm not talking about programs going under and going dark, but I am talking about huge declines in numbers in those states where football is so big. So, yeah, in 2025, what are we going to be looking at? You know, are we still going to have, you know, prominent football programs with rosters that have a minimum of 20 kids? You know, maybe we will. I hope we do, but I don't know. It's questionable.
I saw a statistic that was shown, and of course, we know that concussions have been a big issue, and we've talked about that for a long time, Jeff. But it said that a lot of single moms do not want their kids to play football or hockey. And it's because of the safety issues. It didn't even say concussions, it just said safety issues. And someone said to me, well, it isn't about the single mom. And I said, well, this particular statistic that was shown said that the biggest advocates of having their kids play contact sports where concussions and injuries happen were more because of single moms not wanting that to happen to their children.
Yeah, it's a family.
But it was like, and so when I put it out on Facebook, some of the single moms were like, well, I definitely believe that my kid should play. Well, I didn't say that it was all moms. I just said that the statistic that was shown on the poll, which was funny because it was done by ESPN, they ended up doing, you know when they do the behind the headlines or whatever, where they have that show where they...
Outside the lines.
Outside the lines,
yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly, outside the lines. You know, they end up talking about what has happened across the country. But the other word that was brought up is the word that we've been talking about, numbers. It's not just about the safety issue, yeah. Jeff. It's numbers. A lot of single families are a lot of, we have the single mom situation, but what about guys like you and I? Let's be honest. You have 2 children, bud. You know what? You came from siblings a lot bigger than 2 kids, okay? You have a lot of siblings. Mom had a lot of siblings back then. You only had 2 that you brought into this world, okay? I had my wife had her 2 children before we got together, and then we only had just Ashley together, 1. So the numbers are not big anymore. There's not these big families anymore, Jeff.
Yeah.
And that's why numbers are down.
Bobby, it's the confluence of a bunch of factors.
It so is.
There
It
are
so
so many
is.
things. I mean, people are going after families that aren't allowing their kids to play football. That is a family decision. I would never, ever look at a family and say, what? You're not going to let your kid play hockey? You're not going to let your kid play tackle football? That is a family decision.
Absolutely.
And that is their decision. It is not my job to put my nose in their business. And when you watch an interview with Brett Favre, and he's 3 years younger than us, Bobby. He's about 50, okay? 50.
Yeah.
Relatively young man. He's in terms of his life, he still hopefully has a lot of tread left on the tire, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You watch interviews with him. He struggles to formulate his thoughts, and physically he is struggling big time.
Yeah.
So when families look at that, now there are people that play contact sports and they are fine all the way through. But for some families, it is not worth the risk, and I am fine with that. For some families, they are quote unquote, we're a football family. Grandpa played, dad played, son will play, your son will play, and it's also a community thing. I applaud that as well. Mm-hmm. So families make their decisions, but this is the summation of a whole bunch of different factors. And we could fill up 4 hours on your show.
We could.
And just barely scratch the surface. I mean, Bobby, you know when I really realized things were changing? When I turned on ESPN, one of the ESPNs, probably ESPN2, and I was watching a video of young people playing video games. It was a competition.
Yeah, I watched that too.
That was a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And now we know it's gaming.
It's gaming.
It's getting really, really big. It's a competitive sport. It's not they're not athletes. Well, I guess this kind of goes back to who's an athlete, who's not an athlete. Are auto racers athletes? I think they are, but yeah. No, I'm watching on ESPN, and I'm like, all right, I'm watching a video of a kid playing a video game competitively. Yep. And they have leagues and teams, big sponsorship. I mean, it is a burgeoning industry, and you know what? You and I, back in the day, again, we're getting a little older, Bob. Hate to say, we both celebrated our 53rd birthday a week ago. We're getting a little older. Times have changed, and we're not going back. The toothpaste is out of the tube. But the days when we played whatever sport was in season, from sunup to sundown, and our parents, it's dark out. You got to get inside. And all right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to play pickup games again. Bobby, for the most part, those days are over. They are. And, people are playing a lot of video games, and that's what gives them the sizzle and the buzz that we got by playing ball all day, all summer long. That's what we got excited about. Like, we're going to play, we played all day long, the old days at Hillside Park. And,
absolutely.
Those days are over, man. They are over, for better or for worse. It's a different world in sports. In terms of participation, it's just not the same. How do we navigate going forward? I think people that are a little bit smarter than me got to figure that out. That's why I wonder in 5 or 10 years, what is high school football going to look like? People say it may not exist at all. I think it will. But we may be down to just a few local teams playing football.
Good stuff from Jeff Terrell, as always. We also had the pleasure of interviewing Coach Joe Gamache earlier this year as he talked about being nominated as one of the 5 finalists for a very prestigious local coaching award. Take a look.
People don't realize that just being an athletic director alone is enough to be able to be on somebody's plate, but to be able to take on all these other tasks is surely something that you've been able to do, and you've done it very well.
I definitely appreciate that. I mean, I've always loved being involved in athletics, being involved with the youth, and I can thank my daughter for getting me involved with all the softball stuff as well. I was always a baseball guy, and when she was young, decided she wanted to get into it, and my original plan was to be a popcorn eater and watch her grow and play. Unfortunately, it's fortunate. I actually love it. I got into the coaching realm there.
Well, 25 years that you've been doing some coaching here in the area, and you've really made a big impact on a lot of people's lives. And the one thing that I can say about a guy like you, Joe, is that when you bring up when people bring up your name, it's something that's always very positive. And I just want to let you know that you had a positive influence on my grandchild too. When my grandson was going to camp over at Unity Park and you were taking on a summer program for a couple of summers, you were one of those guys that my grandson thought was really great. And he knew you as Mr. Joe back then. And Gabe's now a middle school student now, 13 years old, and now over at Turner's Falls at Great Falls Middle School. But you bring up your name, and he definitely will always remember you for the great way that you ended up treating him.
Well, he was definitely one of my little buddies over there at that summer playground program, and I love checking in with you from time to time just to see how he's doing. And sounds like he's doing really well.
He is.
And someday he's probably going to get involved in some form of media-related enterprise, and he's going to make more money than any of us.
He's a really smart dude, and he's really, really intelligent. But the one thing is that there's people in his lives that he remembers, and it's nice to be able to see a kid like him who went to camp as a young elementary school kid and now being a teenager and remembering the impact that you had in his life just for only a short 6 or 7 week program for a couple of summers. So that really says a lot to you about you and what you were able to do with the kids over there in the couple of years that you were able to do that job, and you did it very, very well.
I appreciate that. It was one of the chapters of my life that I had a lot of fun with, for sure. John Dobis, who runs the park and rec over there, he was good to me while I was there, and he's still good to me now. He's a good friend, and I had a lot of fun during that experience with all the kids. Good to meet kids from everywhere.
It's the best part about it is that's how I was able to meet you, and and that's how I was able to know more about what you are all about, and finding out that you've taken on the big job as the athletic director over at a school that had an athletic director there for a long time with Kevin O'Connell. He was there for many years, and then you ended up taking that over. Then finding out that you ended up, being involved with wrestling, and that was a real big passion for you. And then, of course, with the football program as well. That has been something that has really been a growing thing over at your school, is sports. And I want to talk about this today because we had a perspective where I had a chance to be able to have Doug McLeod be able to be in here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about where things are going in some of these other schools. Looking at what has happened with the new co-op program between Mohawk and Turner's now, and how a lot of these other schools' teams are really dying down and they're not having the big numbers anymore. You guys seem to be not having a problem with numbers at this moment.
Well, I think a big key to that is we have a really solid group of coaches that ultimately we coach to improve skill level, and we want to compete and we want to win. But ultimately what we're doing is we're encouraging participation at the highest level. We roam the hallways and we're finding kids that maybe haven't played baseball since they were 9 years old, and we encourage them to come out and give it a shot. We have some kids that maybe had a bad experience somewhere else with some other coach, and we encourage them just to try it out. Just come out, give us 2 weeks. If you like it, you stay. If you hate it, you walk away, no questions asked. And I think because a lot of our coaches do work in the building, I think that helps because we're able to recruit kids in the hallways. It's always tougher, and when I first started coaching at Franklin Tech, I didn't work in the building, and our numbers were low. And once I started working in the building, it was a little bit easier to start to connect with kids in the hallway, and then they like you, they like your personality, they see that you have a vested interest in them, so they're more willing to come out and give it a shot, I think.
I love the idea that come on out, give it a couple weeks shot, see what you like, see if it's something for you. Maybe it's not for you, maybe it is. Maybe in the end, this could be one of the best decisions that you ever made in your life, But to give those kids that option of no questions asked, just come out and give it a shot. That's a great way to try to be able to get kids to at least try and to see if it's something that they like. And I'm going to give you an example of a kid that I know who told me a little similar story to what you just said, and that is Cam Tuttle. Yeah. He told me that, they were like, hey, how come you're not going to wrestle? And he goes, I don't want to wrestle. And they're like, come out and try it. See if you like it for a couple of weeks. He said he went out, and now the kid's done really, really well for you. He's really done well in your upper weight classes to be able to go up there and compete against some of these other wrestlers that he wasn't really thinking that this was going to be something that he was going to like.
Yeah, it's true. When he first came in, he was going to give it his 2 weeks and probably had it in the back of his mind that he wasn't going to stick around very long. But he is the kind of kid that's very committed. Once he gets into something, he doesn't walk away. And he learned to love the sport. He grew grew a great connection with some of the other kids that we had on the team, because wrestling is a smaller and more unique group. You spend a lot of time together, and we ride smaller buses, so we travel together.
That's true. You guys do. You have the nice white buses that are smaller, more intimate, so you guys can be able to have the kids talking to each other on those, especially when you guys play a lot of your matches down in the Springfield area, so there's time for them to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're traveling to Eastern Mass.
Oh, yeah, and you go to those big tournaments, too.
Oh, yeah.
When you're traveling down, you guys are traveling down to all these big tournaments that they have, because wrestling's a little different than what we are used to, because a lot of the tournaments that you get involved in are mostly down toward, even down in the Cape area, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're taking, 2.5, 3 hour trips.
Yeah, when you get up at 4 in the morning on a Saturday to go to a wrestling tournament, and you either sleep on the bus or if you're awake, you're talking.
Right. Yeah.
But in Cam's instance, like you said, he was a kid that we encouraged him to come out, and he's grown to love it. He did really well last year in his sophomore year, and we're hoping that he's going to continue to progress. I mean, a lot of that's sort of the track in wrestling. It takes a year or two to kind of feel it out, figure it out, and then year 3, year 4 is when you really start to be a little more successful in that sport.
Another kid who was the same way as Cam is Tim Fritz. You look at Tim, and you recruited him to say, hey, we could use you. Why don't you come out and play wrestling for us? Yeah. And he started he never knew nothing about wrestling until he got at your school. And you sort of recruited him in.
Well, he started, I had to drag him into the football program first.
Right.
He was in a phys ed class first thing in the morning, and I had heard he was a baseball player because
because he did New Gilbo. Yeah,
Mom cuts my hair. And,
and she cuts mine too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she would tell me about him, and then when he came in the door, I saw him, and I said, hey, I hear you're a pretty good baseball player. And he said, yeah, I'm all right. I like baseball. And I said, well, good. That means we need a JV quarterback, so you need to come out and give that a shot. And he threw him off guard a little bit, but he did come out. I gave him the 2-week speech. Yeah. He loved it, and he actually, by all accounts, I think that sort of bypassed baseball in terms of the sport he loved the most. He turned into a great leader for us, was a great player for us. He was an undersized offensive lineman, but he worked his tail off, and then defensively he was one of our leaders at linebacker for a couple of years.
Yeah, matter of fact, he even made All-League and had a chance to even get honors for making All-Western Mass, which I thought was great. Yeah. Really nice to see that for a great kid like Tim.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know his mom and dad were very proud, and he really made some great strides. And when you think about a kid like Tim Fritz, you made an impact in his life. And there's something about you that kid really liked. And he ended up nominating you for a special award that you're now in a voting situation with, to be able to receive a $25,000 award. And it's really a community hometown hero award that's based on coaches and people that have done special things to impact not only their community, but also the teams or the kids that you end up coaching. And Tim really thought a lot about you, enough to be able to make a nomination to be able to give you that opportunity to be in the situation that you're in today.
Yeah, it was. That one came as a shock. There's a lot of coaches in this area that do just as much, if not more, than I do in terms of being invested in the lives of kids here. I got a phone call in late June from Flow Sports, which is an internet-based company that broadcasts a lot of high school and collegiate sports and even some professional sports. And they had told me, I kind of thought it was a scam at first.
I imagine that you would. And I got to be honest, I'd probably think the same thing,
Yeah, but I did some research on it and decided to go through the process, and it's been narrowed down to 5 finalists, and I guess the voting closes the end of next week sometime. They're saying September 27th or September 29th. I guess they haven't finalized the date that they're going to finalize the voting. But it was a shock to me. It was an honor. Initially, I wasn't real excited to go through the process in the summertime, and and whatever else. But I thought it would be a good opportunity not only to honor Tim's nomination and the fact that I got selected, but bring some light to our programs and our school and this area and even the state. I mean, it's a nationwide competition. I'm not 100% sure where all the other finalists are. I know one's from Florida, one's from Massachusetts, I'm from Massachusetts, and then there's 3 others that I haven't really done a lot of research as to where they're from at the moment, but it's an honor. It's humbling, and I've heard a lot of great support already from people in the area and really kind words, which, to be honest, most people, I feel that anyways already. Like, I know people appreciate what I do, and that's why I do it. I don't need the accolades, but it's definitely a pretty unique and pretty cool opportunity to be involved and considered.
Joe's a great guy. It was a pleasure to have him on the show. And finally, we had the chance to interview the entire Frontier Regional High School volleyball team just last month. And personally, it was an absolute pleasure having all these ladies on. And it was quite a challenge for us personally, production-wise, to get them all in the studio and get them ready. But nonetheless, tremendous work from all of them. Fine young ladies. Wonderful job. Here they are, the Franklin County Varsity volleyball team. Ladies, all yours.
I think some people think it's easy, and it's just not. And these guys don't know the amount of work that went into this year. Because like you said, we don't have a lot of seniors. Last year we had 5.
You
it
did.
was 5 out of our 7 starters. And you lose those. And you take a pretty good hit as far as skill and experience and even senior leadership. So we had to fill all those voids. And even winning Western Mass is not a given ever, especially this year with so many new adjustments. Jalen playing significant time for the first time. She's playing outside hitter this year. She's played on the right side. She's played middle hitter in the past. And so for me, it's kind of start with a blank sheet of paper and it's like, here's my pieces and what am I going to do? How can we arrange ourselves to be the most efficient and be able to put the best product out on the court that can be successful.
Well, first of all, it takes a total team effort to make it work. You can't just have 2 or 3 stars and that call it the day. You need all 7 to work hard. And whatever you guys have to do out there to make it work, it's about communication. Would you say communication is probably the biggest thing for you guys to work with each other when you're out there, is being able to communicate with each other so you're not getting in the way of each other? Because, that ball's coming at you hard. Let's talk a little bit about that. Somebody want to speak? Okay.
Yeah, communication is huge. I think volleyball is one of those sports where you can't really just have one good player and be a good team because you have to have 3 contacts on the ball. Like, everyone's going to touch it at some point. So communication is key, like you said, like nonverbal and verbal. I think that really makes our team strong, especially in that state final game. We were playing a lot of defense. I think those nonverbal cues really carried us, and just being confident with your teammates, like, hey, I'm going to get this and you're going to get that, and having that trust in each other. I think that's also part of communication that really has carried us through the season and made us a good team.
Olivia, another thing too is the fact that, you also have to try to stay healthy. That's the key too. Injuries can be a really bad situation for teams. So let's talk a little bit about how the health was for you guys this year.
So we definitely had our own complications. We didn't really have any injury situations, but towards, especially come tournament time, we had a kind of a plague go through our team a little. And that was definitely challenging because it was then like a lot of us couldn't go to practice. But I think what was really special about that was everyone kind of stepped up. If someone wasn't there in practice, the next person on the line was like really eager to get on the court and they really wanted to play. And during games, we were able to get like new people in, and everyone just really stepped up and took their own part if someone was unable to do so.
It was sad because I was looking at this past weekend, Coach. Joe Chadwick was dealing with the situation with his girls for cross country. They ended up going into the state tournament, and 3 of them got sick with the flu for a week. And trying to get your health back when you're a runner and trying to get that, they really struggled in the States. They had a really tough time because of the health issues. of that even.
Such bad timing.
Terrible
It's just
timing. And
such
Coach
bad
Joe
timing,
even
right,
said the
right.
timing couldn't have been worse.
Right.
And
that's just, what can you do? You can't do much about it. It's just horrible timing and bad luck. We were fortunate enough that we had a few little hiccups, and I know Jalen wasn't feeling well in the state semifinals, and Abby wasn't feeling well in the state semifinals, and just one person, it changes so much of what we do. So we have kind of some regular substitutions that we do, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if Jalen's going to be able to finish the match. Excuse me. And so if I have to substitute for Jalen, one of the people I want to substitute is already in the game. So I actually held out somebody to not play because I can't just move her. It's not like basketball. Like the substitution rules in volleyball are pretty strict. So if you're in the game and I sub in for you, you're sitting on the bench now. The only person you can come in for is me.
Oh.
Okay, you can only come in for me. So you can't come in for anybody else. So I can't just say, it's kind of like changing your batting order. I can't say, okay, you're batting fifth and I want you batting third. So it's, it changes a lot of stuff. And you're holding out a player because you might have to play for Jalen as an outside hitter when I have you playing on as an opposite, subbing in for one of our setters. And if everything goes right, you don't play.
Wow.
And so, there was Morgan, who's not here right now, really kind of took one for the team. Ended up getting the game-winning kill.
She did.
It looks like, okay, Jalen looks like she's going to make it another 20 minutes now. And so.
Yes, I remember that.
But it changes a bunch of stuff, and in the calculation, and people don't see it. But there's a lot of that with, it's not just a sprained ankle, and just one person can change a whole bunch of things in the whole lineup. So.
One of the teams that has always been feisty for you guys, and it seems like every year you guys seem to be visiting each other lately, is Lee. And Lee High School is pretty darn good. And they're starting to make a mark of themselves up there in the Berkshires as one of the teams that's pretty good at volleyball. Normally, when you think of the Berkshires, as Coach will probably tell you, and neither some of you girls, basketball is where we usually think of Berkshire teams. We think of the basketball sport. But for them to really do as well as they've done in volleyball has really been pretty special. And how are you enjoying this new rivalry now in Division III with Lee High School? Anybody?
I think that it is really helpful for us to have really strong competition in our division and around us. Lee is a team that we've always really respected. They've always been such hard workers, and they've been putting in the effort, especially in the last couple of years, to become really honest competitors and some really strong competition for us. And I think it definitely makes us better to be able to have a team like that to play close to home in our division that we know we're probably going to end up seeing in the final like we have in the past years, and I think a lot of years before that.
Yeah, they really have been able to put themselves out there now, Sean, where 10, 15 years ago, they were truly just about a basketball school, really, for girls. And you heard of Lee girls basketball, and that was the big deal. Now it's about volleyball.
Yeah, their volleyball team is definitely strong. They're the cream of the crop in the Berkshires, and the Berkshires have some pretty strong Division III volleyball teams. Lennox is pretty good, and Mount Greylock is good, and Wacona. So, they play themselves in that Berkshire League quite a bit and beat up on each other. But Lee, it's definitely made a big improvement, and they certainly push us. We play them once a year in the regular season.
I saw that, yeah.
And it was our senior night this year, and but we've gone up to Lee and we've lost in 5, and Lee's come to us and beat us in 5, and so it's nice to see them in the regular season, and we both get a look at each other and kind of see what we need to fix before we play each other in the playoffs. But they're definitely good.
They are. I thought it was pretty different for what we normally see from Frontier, because every time we always think of Frontier, they bring the crowd. Well, in the semifinals, you guys took on the good old math. The Math Academy decided that they were going to bring a couple of busloads full of fans. And even Coach said that he was thinking about maybe seeing if he could barter a few of those folks to come cheer you guys on for the state championship. Let's talk about what it was like in the atmosphere that night.
I love the crowd, honestly. We don't get a big crowd at Frontier. A lot of people don't come to our games, but having that fan section, like they weren't cheering against us, they were just cheering, and we were winning. So them cheering and us winning, it like helped, honestly. I don't think it brought us down, if anything.
Well, I think it was special for them, too. For them to be in the position that they were in, guys, and I know Coach will vouch for that. I think it was a big deal for them as well, to be in that position, you know?
And I think, I think that's the difference that Jalen was alluding to. When Advanced Math and Science, AMSA, they're playing their first, their first Central Mass win, and then, to play in the semifinals, is special. And, unfortunately, I feel bad for some of these guys that they don't have as much support as I'd like to see from the students, because it's like, 15 years in a row, ho-hum, boring, like you do this all the time. And I'm like, I just like, man, the amount of work that these guys do.
It doesn't make sense to me, because I've always believed that people like winners. People like winners.
That's going to do it for 2019 here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm John Meisner, and for all the great hardworking men and women behind the scenes here at Greenfield Community Television, I can honestly say in my first full year as producer of this show, it has been an honor serving this community and getting the chance to showcase to you, the good people of Franklin County, some of our favorite people in sports. For all the people behind the scenes, we thank you for watching GCTV and the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. We'll be back with you next year in the new year in 2020 as we continue to provide you with some of the best local commentary, scores, and updates among all things Franklin County sports. Until then, happy holidays, everybody. So long. God bless you. Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.